family. Welcome to another episode of Fast Break. Well, actually, welcome back. I don't know when was the last time I was on. I think it was like 2 weeks ago or whatnot. I know the music that you just heard is not what you're used to, but during pre-production, me and Clutch were seeing, and he wanted some rock, so we got it for him. Look, Clutch, how you doing, buddy?
Good, man. Refreshed. Got a week off.
Yeah, man. Honestly, when it today was Wednesday, I'm like, I just got back from basketball practice, and I'm like, dude, when was the last time I did a show? I'm like, I forgot. I've talked so much basketball the last 2 weeks without being in front of the camera. I haven't produced any show. I don't even know how the shows are going. I've been irresponsible, but it's good to be back. It's good to be back, man. I missed you. I missed our Wednesday nights sessions, and I know right now we're kind of in a bind as Heat fans because obviously your common Heat fan is about to trade multiple first-round picks for a Crowder, just out of panic mode. But I think we need to step back. I'm not trying to be Mr. Positive, so I'm going to let you go first, Clutch, here. What you've seen as of late, I got my point of views and I'll share them, but tell me, what do you feel right now is the state of the Heat as a logical common Heat fan?
I mean, right now it's tough to be a Heat fan in the sense that it was a roller coaster of emotions the last few games. Like you've got the ups. We lose to the Celtics. It was close at first, and then we ended up losing. Jimmy Butler drops that video. He's like, "I'm coming, Boston. I'm coming. Let's go. I'm
Thirsty.
thirsty. Let's go." And we beat the Celtics. Jimmy plays out of his mind. Bam was great. Everything was great. You're like, okay, this is when the season turns around. And then we lose the last two games in embarrassing fashion to the Pistons. And who was the other team? I don't even know.
Grizzlies. We lost at
The,
Memphis
and the Grizzlies without John Morant,
without
without
John
Desmond
Moran, without
Bain.
everybody. I don't know. I don't know what it is, man. When it comes to obviously we see NBA games, we see all around the league, but we tune in more on Heat games. Our local team, obviously, we dissect it more. Um, we have a tendency to play down to competition. I don't know why that is. I understand it's the regular season, so you know some teams at times take certain games off. They don't talk about it, and it's not about load management. Teams around the league take certain moments, certain games off, but great teams usually put away the teams that are below them, that play below average, and they have below average talent, like the Pistons and Grizzlies. Also, those teams really have nothing to lose. So they're going to put their maximum effort, whoever comes up, and they play a little bit more freely. And these past weeks, what I've seen these past 2 weeks, two things that have stuck out to me. Well, obviously, yesterday Oladipo returns. It's overshadowed by the fact that we lost to 20 to the Pistons, and we were in this game in the third quarter, and then just fourth quarter came and fucking a volcano erupted and covered us in lava and got destroyed us. Oladipo came back, so he's going to be an integral part of the rotation. I'm pretty sure he might be on some minute restrictions when he comes back. He played almost 20 minutes. He was productive. He looked comfortable out there. So I was excited about that. What you have now is you kind of have a clear view of who Bam Adebayo is trending to become. And remember in the offseason, I know people criticize me, tell me, Bam, there's no next level of Bam. There's no next level of Bam. We talked about consistency. He seems to be developing that consistent top of the key jumper, in the paint jumper. I don't need him to shoot threes. He shot a three comfortably in motion. He was just stopped, popped it, and it was fluid. So I don't mind those. I love that part of his development, and that's what's going on for the next couple of years. But you kind of see this team really, really, and a lot of people have attested to this. We don't know who they really are right now. One option, not one option, one cause of that are injuries, the lack of continuity. Omer being out with surgery, with ankle surgery, we're not going to see him probably all season. So that's one for me. That's a big one for me personally. Not only basketball wise, for the Heat, but I saw a lot of combinations with Omer, even off the bench or playing next to Bam. So that's on hold. We're never going to get to see that part. Maybe we'll see it. Maybe we won't. Duncan Robinson with playing time. It seems to have regressed. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the situation is, or maybe the necessity of playing Highsmith has relegated Robinson to once again just kind of a emergency spot rotational player. Max Juice has been slumping. Vincent has been hurt. So these are not excuses. It's just reality. It's very difficult to assess the Heat. And we always have the 20-game marker, 25-game marker. But really, we've only been healthy for maybe 8, 9, 10 games. And who would have thought, if I would have told you, Kyle Lowry hasn't missed a single game? And you can argue, as of now, he's been the most consistent all-around player, obviously aside from Bam. But you can count on Kyle Lowry, and it's always been the case. I understand last year was an anomaly because of the situation of the private situation, personal situation that he was going through that really no one has talked about. There's no information out there, so we don't really know the magnitude of this situation. So I want to see Bam established the way it is, and I believe to have an identity, not only on the defensive end, because when your offense seems to be off, your defense starts affecting it. That's across the board. But I feel this team needs some sort of hierarchy. I compared it yesterday to when Wade told LeBron that this was his team. I'm not saying it's a situation behind the scenes of different playing styles, because people are going to knock on Tyler Hero that when Tyler Hero scores or more than 20 points or something, that he'd have a losing record, or when he's balling. That's not on Tyler Hero, because he's not being egotistical. He's not being a ball hog. He's not affecting other people's games. It's how people play around him too. So I understand the combination might not be best right now. Kyle Lowry maybe plays better with a Strus, with a Robinson. But Bam and Hero were you kind of see what's coming with a high pick and rolls playing off each other. When Jimmy comes in, I don't understand why it's so difficult for them to have continuity within this playing style. I feel that it's just literally up and down. It's like waves, man. Like, you see them play to their full strength. You just beat arguably the number one team in the NBA right now, a historic offensive team in the Boston Celtics, which could be our matchup in the Eastern Conference Finals or early in the playoffs, depending on our seeding. You see them play a complete game, and you see them defeat the Celtics in the second game of that trip to Boston. And then you see yourself, and you're like, okay, this is what I expected. You have your big four playing to their full capacities, and then you turn around, like you said, and you're like, wait a second, what the hell happened to them? So you don't know if it's playing up to competition, if it's a lack of continuity, if Spo is still searching for that perfect rotation. There's going to be moves made. So I'm going to stay quiet I've talked for a good, like, 5 minutes, so I'm sorry about that. It's just a lot of things to say for this past week. What do you think right now internally, and then you can tell me something externally that could be done realistically within the time frame? What can spark this team? Or not, I don't even need a spark. I think what we want is continuity. So what can be done, Clutch, from within right now that you feel or that you see?
I really have, with what we currently have, like, 1 second you think internally we have enough to make a run at least until the trade deadline, but then all of a sudden, then you look at it, and yesterday against the Pistons, you got Bam scoring 21 and 15, Tyler scoring 34, and nobody else is doing anything. Like, you have Highsmith, who's proven to be a very, 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 very good defender.
Yes.
But he can't do anything on offense. It seems like he's more of a liability on offense than PJ Tucker was. PJ at least had the consistent corner 3-point shot. It's kind of like, I call Highsmith, this a little joke, is that he's like a slightly better KZ Okpala. He's very good on defense, but just
that's
he's not there on offense.
And KZ Okpala's balling out in Sacramento, which is insane.
That's crazy. That's probably one of the few guys that leave Miami and get better, because that usually doesn't happen.
And they were so high on him, man. They traded 3 second-round picks just to draft him, and it just didn't pan out. And it's to me, that's the part that's insane, man. Because right now he actually would play decent next to Bam. I really thought, and Bobby can attest this when you talk to him, I was high on KZ Okpala. When we drafted him the same year Hero was drafted. He was our second-round pick that year. We didn't have a second-round pick. We traded future picks to acquire him. And what was the famous Bobo? The Bobo situation. It comes down to that.
Oh, that guy.
Again. We didn't draft Bobo and traded him. We traded the pick first. Denver told us to pick Bobo. We wouldn't have traded Bobo us. It was already a selection. Just clearing it out there. Um, One thing, Clutch, that intrigues me, man, and if I don't know, I always go back to this. Now they're doing the stats comparing last year's bench to this year's bench. First of all, you can't do that. You just had Tyler Hero as your sixth man of the year, one of your top scorers, one of your top minutes. He plays the most minutes, one of the most minutes on your team when healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You had him on your bench. By default, your bench was going to be top the league in scoring. He was averaging almost, I think it was 20 points or 19 point something a game. So I'm not even doing that comparison right now. Now, I do see that there across the board, there seems to be not a regression, but people playing beyond their roles. I understand you have certain players that at any given moment could play above their role, give you more than what they should be giving you. Like you can have a Max Hughes one day playing 35 minutes. Realistically, Max Hughes shouldn't be playing 35 minutes. He could be playing 25, maybe 30. So it seems to happen that always in the fourth quarter we have these letdowns. Very rarely is it in the. It used to be in the beginning of the game, which made me question a lot of times if we should separate Caleb and Jimmy. And I'm still in the train of thought that I think we would excel if we bring Caleb Martin off the bench. Not a knock on Caleb because he's done everything we've asked him to do and more. It's just I feel it's a better fluid lineup when Caleb comes in for Jimmy and becomes Jimmy while Jimmy's out.
Yeah,
I don't know
the
if that's
bench
the
the
choice.
bench needs to boost
They need to
because
boost. Look,
it's nothing right
Oladipo
now.
came back. Oladipo's back. So if you move Martin to the bench, you got Vincent, Oladipo, Strus, Martin. Ideally, Deadman on some days here and there. You can't really trust them. I'm a big believer of if you're gonna ride it out, you can play Nikola. If you're not gonna start Nikola, if I do this move, believe it or not, I know they might start Highsmith because he fits, but I would start Nikola. I like Jovic playing in the starting lineup. I believe it frees him up and it frees up Bam. And I don't know what it's gonna take for it to happen. Most likely, what's gonna happen either December or January, they will make a move, possibly move Robinson, possibly move Deadman, and you might acquire that stretch four that you're looking for. But realistically, I have one thing. This is highly unlikely. I don't see this happening at all. But you do understand that Caleb Martin probably right now is one of our best assets. If someone approaches you, I know he's not off the table, he's not off limits. Someone approaches you and they tell you, oh, yeah, we'll take on Robinson, but we want Caleb and another asset in the first round pick. Would you be hesitant to move Caleb, or does it depend on who we're getting in return?
It obviously depends on who we're
Uh-huh.
going to get, but ultimately, if it is an upgrade, like a clear upgrade, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it. I
Okay.
don't think Caleb's not expendable anymore.
No,
He's
no,
not
no, no.
he's not untouchable. I mean, because
Yeah.
he had this really good run of he's a cheap contract. He can defend
Mm-hmm.
anything. So why would you trade something like that? But he's an asset now.
Yeah.
Like people have seen what he can do. People have seen how he can defend some of the best guards in the league. So
Mm-hmm.
he's worth something. And Duncan Robinson, he's taken such a step back that his value as a player has gone down, and then you have the contract working
Yeah.
against him too. So you're gonna have to sweeten the pot, and that
You have
that
to.
sweetener is probably gonna be Caleb if it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to it.
And you're thinking, um, depending on who we are acquiring, I think I don't see Jovic being traded. I really don't. Genuinely don't. Depending on who becomes available. Once again, we have no idea who might become available. This tends to happen. There's always a surprise move. The Heat really don't do blockbuster trades mid-season. On rare occasions, I know they traded for Timmy, but if they're going to revamp the roster, they usually do it in the off-season. And the in mid-season is tweaking here and there, finding the right combination. And I'm not trying to be Mr. Positive here, but this team is maybe just one player or two tweaks away from being in full motion. It's figuring out, which it's crazy to me to say this because it really bothers me when people compare, oh, we're running it back. I understand what they mean because we have the same personnel for the most part. but everybody that came back is playing a different role, really. So I don't really see this team as running it back fully. If it's running it back fully, everybody plays the same role. PJ Tucker comes in, yeah, and you're running it back, but you're changing people's roles. Okay, I didn't think Caleb Mutton was going to be this far into the season and still starting at the 4. I'm going to be honest with you. I thought they were going to try it out. I saw that it wasn't working as much. I know people like to compare Lowry and Hero, but I always like to look also at the Martin minutes there. And I just feel we can separate him and Butler. They play well together, but I think Martin will even shine more. And it's more productive for this team, even playing with Oladipo. If you start, another person that I would do, Orlando Robinson. If Devin is not giving you the minutes that you need and you're going to start Jovic, there might be some spot minutes for Orlando Robinson to come in and get you defensive presence. He has size, rebounding, things of that nature. I don't know. I can't pinpoint. I'm trying to put my coach's hat on. I can't pinpoint Spo's frustration if it's with certain players, if it's with a collective unit, because I've seen Spo frustrated before. I haven't quite seen Spo be quietly frustrated as he is now. I don't know if you've noticed a difference. Like last year, for example, with Jimmy, they got into that argument and all that. But Spo right now is very pensive, as in he knows something is coming. He's trying to hold the fort. He's trying to find the right nucleus. I've always faulted Spo at times for writing his rotations out too long. And the problem is, I know he sees it because he's one of the smartest coaches that's ever been around. He's one of the best adjusters that has been around, in-game adjustments. So I can't really pinpoint it. I would like to take your take. What do you think is really triggering him? Is this more, look, our defense right now, I'm not upset with our defense. I'm really not. There's lapses, but statistically speaking, the defense is getting to the place where I figured they would be, having a drop-off of a PJ Tucker, not having Jimmy Butler healthy. Kyle Lowry's a surprise, man. I gotta just bite my tongue, take it like a man. I had envisioned a lot of situations where Kyle Lowry will play himself off and limit his minutes. Kyle Lowry hasn't given me any reason to doubt him as still a reliable QB1, getting your team in order while still learning to play with Tyler Hero and giving him his space. And Tyler Hero has been flourishing. Kyle Lowry defensively has stepped up. He's in the right places. His shooting has improved in comparison to last year. I just don't understand why you got Ben, you got Tyler, you got Jimmy, you got 3 people averaging 20 points. You have decent role players. It's just finding the perfect mesh for it to work right now. I don't get the part where it doesn't work. I don't understand why. Why do you think Tyler goes off for 30? He's playing efficiently, he's creating, and yet the team struggles more when he scores more. And it's not about he's not a facilitator because he gets his teammates involved. Is it just ball watching? Is it I'm just gonna wait and he's gonna come and rescue me and Bam's gonna go off too? Like I don't get it. And even Jimmy could be a creator. And Jimmy's role right now, if I'm Spo, honestly, I'm happy because I can limit Jimmy's minutes to 30, 31, 32 on any given night. He can create, he can focus on defense, he can split lanes because really Jimmy's gonna be a slasher. He's gonna get to the free throw line, his shooting's improved, he can still get his mid-range. This is a perfect situation for Jimmy. I don't understand what's going on. I really don't. Do you see anything else that I don't see there, Clutch?
I mean, you kind of hit it on the head when you alluded to it. I think when Tyler goes off for these big games, I think these role players just like sit back and watch the Tyler Hero show, and they don't get themselves involved because they're like, okay, he got it. Him and Bam pick and roll. Let me just sit in the corner and chill. And that's not what you do because you need to move. You need to move around. You need to create space. You need to do all these things, these little things that lead to winning. And you mentioned this about Spo that he's a lot more pensive now. He's not a lot of outbursts.
No,
but it's more of a quiet frustration. I really do think he's stumped. He doesn't know what to do because I think he's stumped the fact that these role players. I think is mostly on the role players because the statistics for the starters hasn't really tapered off as much. You're looking at Jimmy, Bam, even Kyle and Tyler, but these role players aren't producing, and he's like, what do I have to do to get them to produce?
Yeah,
And maybe you're right. He knows that something is coming. Maybe Pat Riley told him, hold the fort for a little while, and we'll get you some help. But I genuinely do think that Spo is stumped. And one idea that I saw on Twitter that I really liked when you mentioned about starting Jovic, I
yes,
do think that would work. And even if you play him in a Myers Leonard kind of role, you start him, but he plays little minutes, but you start him.
yes, yeah. It
And
opens
yeah,
up.
exactly like you did with Myers Leonard. Myers Leonard averaged what, 15, 20 minutes a game?
Yeah,
He not much, but he started, he spaced the floor, and he got you what you needed. And I think you could do
absolutely.
that. You could recreate that with Jovic, and I think Jovic is a much better player than Myers Leonard was.
Oh yeah, all around. For example, Myers obviously was stronger, better rebounder, so he can complement that part with Bam defensively. But Jovic gives you so much options. He just opens up your offensive game because even bro, we rebounding wise, remember we thought we are gonna be out rebounded every game. We lost the 2 games and we were even rebounding. We have been out rebounding teams. So the what we thought was gonna be our Achilles heel, we've managed to temper with it, but yet they go on stretches, man. Dude, the other day I saw it live, Clutch, and it was so frustrating, man. And you see me like this. I put my coach's hat on again. And obviously, your knee jerk move, your knee jerk reaction is to sub him out, get him out there. And then you start realizing, I'm like, wait a second, what am I gonna do here? Because if I sub him out, I'm gonna throw away the offensive chemistry that has been building up out of frustration. Defensively, also what I feel has hurt us a lot. Vincent not being healthy, it's under the radar, has been very difficult to overcome because you don't really have one of our biggest weaknesses is on ball defense, like one on one breakdowns. We've relied on zone at times. They've exploited it. Boston destroyed our zone the first game. We came obviously Jimmy came back. I want to see a complete team defensively when we got Vincent healthy, when we got Oladipo healthy, when we got Butler healthy, bam. Because those are like what I call the nuclear lineup. You got Vic, even Lowry, Hero, Butler, and Bam. There's gonna be some Butler games that he's playing the four. When Vic comes in, I'm interested to see how Spo. This is the part that gets to you because mechanically you know where your players can get you. It's just getting them into the perfect rotational cycle. And sometimes that rotational cycle is going to be affected by foul trouble, by an injury. We've said it before, injuries sometimes open up your eyes. Jimmy being out, we always knew Bam could do this, but Jimmy being out gave also Bam that confidence to build that consistency where he was going to go get it. And when Bam was carrying us offensively, which is my number one thing, I believe Bam should be the focal point offensively in the fourth quarter. Yes, you give Jimmy. I want the ball in Tyler's hand. I want Jimmy cutting. I want Jimmy cutting through lanes, setting down screens with Tyler. But if we have an offensive hierarchy where we're gonna play through Bam, Jimmy just reads and react, gets to the free throw line, and Tyler can create. I believe we're wasting right now our versatility. Like we have so many ways of playing this game that I feel this team is better than last year's team. Like I see it with my eyes, and it's so frustrating because all they're lacking is an identity. Last year, we knew what we had to do to win, and we didn't have the most talented team last year in comparison to now. I would say right now we have a more talented team. Oladipo's healthier. Kyle Lowry settled in. He's fit. Jimmy Butler seems to be healthier. The knee injury, I don't know if it's load management. I don't know if it's tendonitis. I don't know what it is. Or they're just maintaining it. Bam is determined. Caleb Martin has taken another step. So you look across the board, and realistically, the regression that you might see, once again, Robinson, like you mentioned, Strus has regressed a little bit with his shot. I think he's just tired. I genuinely believe that Strus shooting because in the first quarter, second quarter, he's fine. As it gets late in the game and he gets high in those minutes, which is what we talked about earlier, players playing out of their roles or like asking way, way, way too much out of them. You can do that a couple games, but you cannot do that on a consistent basis. That's the difference between superstars, regular rotational players, undrafted players at times. That is the difference in the NBA in athletes, in elite athletes and super above average, superb athletes, average athletes. And you're starting to see that, man. Um, one, I'll throw this one out there for you because this is just on a personal level. One name that came up today. There was a trade scenario that came up today, not with the Heat, but it just came up that the Knicks are willing to listen to offers for Evan Fournier. Like they'll include Emmanuel Quickly and Cam Reddish if someone takes on Fournier's contract. If that situation is presented to me as a Heat GM, obviously I'm trying to get rid of Duncan, but Duncan has one more year on his contract than Evan. Can the Knicks maybe use Duncan instead of Evan? Maybe. I would entertain this just for the simple fact. Your number one option is to get rid of Duncan and not take back any salary that extends beyond this year. What do you have to do that? Give up a first round pick, give up one of your young assets. That's the only way it's going to work. To a team that actually would take on Duncan's contract and can use him. Dallas can use him. The Lakers can use him. Duncan is a serviceable player. He's a specialist. Unfortunately, here, Juice came along. That removed Duncan from the rotation. And Clutch, you and me talked about this. I was impressed with Duncan this year. He was creating off the dribble penetration kickouts. He was laying up the ball. He was shooting much better with confidence. Once again, this is the part that I don't understand. The lack of consistency with Duncan Robinson. Is it on the coaching staff not playing him? Is it he's not playable because he's a defensive liability still? Would you do a move like this, for example, for an Evan Fournier? Because I just say this because I am super big on Cam Reddish. I can't pinpoint why he hasn't broken into people's rotation. I don't know if it's a situation with Cam, the player. But when he was coming out of Duke, I wanted Cam Reddish. I don't know if you feel how you feel about him, but I would take a flyer on him. And shit, I would play him at the 4 right now. So how do you feel about that one, that scenario?
I have zero interest in Evan Fournier,
Yeah.
but I have a lot of interest in Cam Reddish.
I love how I'm the bad. Like, I don't give a fuck about Evan Fournier.
Yeah, I don't care. Like, if you have to take him and just bench him for the rest of the year just to get Cam Reddish, because I don't know. I feel like he's just not used properly anywhere. He's been, I think, Atlanta. He's been overshadowed by that when he was there by DeAndre Hunter.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you go to New York. New York is a hellhole that I hate so much with my heart. With
You're
Tim
very passionate
Thibodeau
about this situation.
running his players into the ground.
He does the same thing everywhere he goes, bro. Everywhere he goes.
Yeah. So, like, I think if anybody can get something out of Cam Reddish on the court, I think it's Spo.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not a starter, but off the bench as the backup for Jimmy instead of Caleb. If Caleb moves on somewhere else, you have Cam Reddish right there. He can play defense. He can. I mean, from his college, because you haven't seen much of it in the NBA, but from college,
exactly,
he can play defense. He can shoot the three at a high level.
Yeah.
In college, and I don't think your shot just goes away like that. I think it's just the way you're used. As for Duncan, I think he's mentally he's mentally like washed at this point because everybody was behind him. He was hitting all the threes. He had the almost historic season, and then just like the minutes started going away because he couldn't play defense. Mm-hmm. And then once he gets into a slump, if he can't shoot, he can't do anything else. So you kind of have to not play him if he's just in a big slump because he's not giving you anything else. And at this point, he's not even giving you the attention, the gravity that he used to because he's been in a slump for a while now and teams aren't respecting it anymore.
Yeah, and it's funny because he played yesterday. He still has a semi-gravitational pull. Good shooters always do that. They always pull your defense. They always have a pull no matter what, even if you're struggling at times because you still have to. All he needs is to hit 1 or 2, and he goes off. But you see the situations. What I cannot stand is when you see a lead just evaporate in front of you, and it's lack of effort. As a coach, that has to drive you insane because you know what you have on the team. you know what you have in your rotation. There's days that it's an anomaly. Okay, that's good. They're gonna go off. It's crazy. They're shooting 80% from the 3-point line. Yeah, that's not every day. That tends to average out in a game. At times, do you catch a tough break? Yeah, you do. And it happens to be in the fourth quarter. I can understand one time. But this is a trend that we've seen once again for a while now. For a while now. They figured it out last year. They figured how to not lose leads. But this year, yes, our record is 11-13, I think, or 11-14.
14.
But what is it? 11-13?
14.
11-14. 3 games
Mm-hmm.
under. Like we can't seem to get to 500. That's the struggle, man. Like every time we flirt with 500, we're like, how can we lose another game for no reason? Um, it's just frustrating. With I don't got any positivity hat on or anything. I trust what we have in this team. I know that there's going to be a change. There has to be a change at this point. I don't feel that it's from within. You do have to move certain players out. What you're going to get in return, we don't know, because realistically, trade partners out there, I don't see them just making a lateral move. I don't see this. This is not gonna be resolved by acquiring Jay Crowder. Like I'll die on that hill. I don't want to acquire Jay Crowder, because if
I
I'm gonna
think
go
we're
that
better off with
route,
Caleb.
we're better off with Caleb or just starting Nikola Jovic. Like I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand. First of all, to give up Caleb to acquire a Jay Crowder, or to give up another asset to acquire. No, I'm not going to do that. I think our goal, a successful trade deadline, is someone getting Duncan Robinson's contract off our books and us possibly acquiring a serviceable big man, or maybe a four. That's realistically a good trade deadline for me. Now, could there be a semi catastrophic move in the NBA like there always is? Yeah. Do I see it happening with us right now with the personnel? No. Do I see the Lakers doing that, for example? Yeah. Now you have to reassess, like, what are you going to trade for? I think, honestly, look, it's the Lakers. Anthony Davis is playing much better now. Now you're all of a sudden, you're looking like, wait a second, we can't make the playoffs. We can't compete. Russell Westbrook is playing his ass off the bench. He's accepted his role. He's shining in his new role. The team is playing well. Now, they're not going to trade first round picks for just to get rid of Westbrook's salary at this point. I don't think they're going to do that. They will trade first round picks for other assets or for other players. Maybe DeMar DeRozan, Nikola Vucevic, which is an intriguing option. Now that I say Nikola, if the Bulls blow that up, would you trade Nikola Vucevic? Would you get if you could get Nikola Vucevic? Would you be happy with that as your four next to Bam?
Not really.
Not
Like
really.
I'm not a fan of Nikola like that.
I
I'm
feel
just
like
not.
that's one of those. It's crazy to me how that happens in the NBA. I think is also the trend of the big man. Nikola Vucevic 2 years ago was one of the top big men in the NBA. Now, in this NBA, he's almost an afterthought. I'm not saying he's not productive. I'm not saying he could still get 2010, because he probably possibly could. But it's crazy how the NBA, in a matter of 2 years, you're relevant and then you're absolutely nowhere. Like your team could have the brightest future and then you're in the doghouse the following year. Like it's just that quick. That quick. Look at the Kings. The Kings are in fourth place in the Western Conference. They were a laughing stock. We questioned their trading for Sabonis and trading Halliburton. They're actually playing decent basketball when you got Mike Brown, a defensive-minded coach, and he's obviously he has a championship pedigree with the Warriors now, obviously from before. So that's a culture change, and that's something that establishes you, and that's for years, man. You're building something that's going to last a lifetime. Utah Jazz coming down back to earth. They're leveling out. This is the part that around this game, 25, 30 games, um, you kind of see what teams are going to be in it for the long haul. Now, I'm holding out hope here. Do we remember how the Celtics started last year? Do you remember, Clutch?
Yeah, they were bad. They
They
were
were
bad.
bad. They were a 500 team. By the end of the season, NBA Finals, they lost to the Warriors, but they were a completely different team. Do I see this happening to us? Yes, I genuinely do, because I thought it had clicked in the Boston game. So we know this is gonna sound. I don't even know how to describe this. We know how to play winning basketball. The reason we're not playing winning basketball, I don't understand. I can't grasp it. Because last year, I don't know if that was the situation. And sit here with me. Last year, we got to 53 wins. Amazing. I don't know if Lowry missing games, Bam missing games, Jimmy missing games were the reasons we actually won those 53 games, because we tend to play better when one of our main guys is out. We play more freely. The offense, the ball moves fluently. I was impressed when I saw the Celtics game, because I'm like, okay, this is the first time really that I'm seeing all year that Kyle Lowry, Bam, Tyler, and Jimmy are actually playing their respective games within the team game, and we're excelling. No one is really sacrificing anything. Everybody's playing to their strengths. And I'm like, holy shit, this can work. If you go from that, and then you have, I don't know, if anybody misses the game against the Memphis, and you blow out Memphis by 15, 20, you're like, hmm, it's clicking. Then you come home. Jimmy misses the game. Okay, no problem. Bam goes off. Hero goes off. You beat Detroit by 20. You're like, okay, I see what we got. But it was the complete opposite of, we reach the mountaintop. We see what we can do this year. And then you just flatline. I'm like, what happened? What happened between the Celtics game and the Memphis game, where you're playing a depleted Memphis team that you can exploit? What the fuck happened to us? And you're just looking around. I'm like, someone needs to answer for this, because now, unfortunately, it's what's going to happen. They're going to start questioning, why is Udonis Haslam part of the rotation? Because Udonis Haslam was getting minutes instead of Nikola. I don't know if that was because of his ankle issue. Don't know, so I'm not going to speculate. It's like, why do we have an empty roster spot? Which I still know what they're doing. They're waiting for the last week of the season. They'll sign someone just like they did the years before. They get under the salary cap, because next year we recycle, and next year we will be a tax team. So I understand financially what they're doing, and they think that we have enough to win. I understand that part. Regular fan comes to the street. Why do we have an empty roster spot? Is it really detrimental, man? Are they really going to use it? No, they'll probably, honestly, pending any trades. I see Jamal Cain finishing with a standard contract. I actually want to see Jamal Cain playing this rotation. I think he could actually help us out. So I have no problem if he plays. Drew Smith is coming as insurance because Vincent is hurt. Orlando Robinson probably will get back his two-way once Vincent is cleared to play again. What was this? Oh, man. The last name is Budeya, I think. Budeya. I'm really high on him. He's right now in our Skyforce. Bouye. Which, by the way, have you seen how the Skyforce have been playing?
Not really.
You haven't seen it? Dude, look up their last game, Clutch. They beat, I forgot who they beat, 143, I think, to like 80-something or 90-something. This is when Nikola had a triple-double, almost had a triple-double. Jamal Cain had like 20-something points. Drew Smith went off. Like, we have the replacements for our replacements. And it seems to be the cycle. Which, actually, I forgot who it was on Twitter the other day. Someone told me about us re-signing Strus and Vincent. I can see in a world where I think that they'll sign Max to an extension, a team-friendly extension. But I wouldn't be surprised if they go against that route. In the concept of, if you move Robinson, you can allocate that money for Max and Vincent. For sure. What do you call this? Omer is probably going to re-sign for a cheaper deal than he would have gotten because of his injuries. So that helps us out. But you just don't see them really. There's not going to be people continue to do it. If you're not going to upgrade your roster, and you're in a championship year, there's really no reason to reset the tax clock on your team if you don't feel that it's going to contend. Now, if you're going to contend and you don't go into the tax because you're being cheap, then that sends a message, kind of like the situation with Mike Miller when we amnestied him and it pissed off LeBron. Like, I understand that. I understand the basketball part. I understand the financial part. But you also see the message you're sending out to your city, to your fans. Like, oh, yeah, we want to win. Yeah, we're going to do everything. Yeah, resign for season tickets. Like, oh, whoa, pay the tax? No. I can't pay the tax. when you got Lacob in Golden State paying like, dude, what's his salary? I think this year with tax and everything, it's like $500 million to have the same exact team. So those are the comparisons. Um, you can be smart financially, but at the end of the day, the product that you put on the floor has to coincide with what people's timeline is expected. Now we're getting to a tricky situation because ideally, Clutch, I tell you, you might even try to wait the season out. If it's you ticker at 500, what do you do this season? Try to move Kyle Lowry's contract to a contender. You reset that. Tyler Hero's contract comes up next year. Full max, not full max, but takes up Tyler Hero's, Kyle Lowry's salary. You kind of balance it out as those salary caps go up. But you're tickering now between Jimmy Butler's timeline and Bam's timeline. We already see what's coming with Bam and Tyler. Now, can we win with the team that we have now in Jimmy Butler's timeline? I think we can, but I'm going to ask you, and we'll wrap it up shortly because obviously we want to go around the NBA, but the current Heat situation kind of merits you going deep diving into it. Obviously, I don't have the statistics. I don't have the inside information. I'm just talking here as my coach's mentality, as someone that's been watching basketball for years. I like one of my passions is I'm honestly one of my passions not even coaching. My biggest passion is finding pieces that fit together for a common goal. I think basketball to me is the most beautiful sport because in the concept also of soccer, where you need the other person constantly because your team is in constant movement, whether on offense or defense. Football, you have the rest, you have the offense and defense. Baseball, you have people playing individually. Tennis is an individual sport. So out of all the competitive sports, the biggest team sport is basketball to me. And when you have something that fits, not only continuity, but when you have talent that fits and that meshes well and plays well off each other, the possibilities are endless. So I'll end it today just asking you, are you panicking right now?
The short answer is a little bit.
A little bit. Okay.
A little bit. I think
Why?
I think we're at a breaking at a turning point in the season in the sense that we saw that we could beat the Celtics, but then we
Mm-hmm.
lost two really bad games.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're in a stretch, and I just had it right here. I hope it didn't delete.
Yeah.
Uh,
Our schedule's pretty soft now, right?
yeah, if you look at, I mean, the next game is the Clippers. They're a good team, so
Yeah.
whatever. But after that, you have a straight run of the Spurs, the Pacers, the Thunder, the Rockets, the Spurs again, and
Yeah.
then you go back to the
Those
to
are
the
all
Bulls.
tanking teams, bro. All tanking teams. And you know what's
So
crazy, bro?
yeah,
We've beaten the Blazers. We've beaten the Suns. We've beaten the Celtics. I understand what an NBA season does, and there's ups and downs. I get it. But the fact that you lose, I think it's not the fact that we lost, Clutch, it's how we've lost these games.
hmm
Is that we just look uninterested. Like we just look that we have absolutely no will to do anything. Like we don't care. And that's to me the part that I've never seen when it comes to Heat basketball. That's my only concerning part, I would say. I don't feel that there's a lack of communication. I don't think there's turmoil because usually when losing happens, I know there was talks in the beginning of the season that Kyle Lowry wasn't as happy in Miami last year and the situation with the teams. He seems to be okay. The team seems to be playing fine with him. I just feel that this team it needs a move, not to reset its roster. It needs a move to clear up its roster and its hierarchy. That's what I feel. Because right now we're playing and they want to figure it out. And sometimes the most difficult thing to do is figuring it out with the people that are actually part of the problem. And it's a difficult situation. I mean, you are millionaire athletes, you're superb athletes, you're elite athletes. So they should figure it out. But I wouldn't say I'm not panicking because I'm confident in the team. I really am. Once again, coach's hat on. I see what can be done, and I kind of feel that Spo is going that route slowly but surely. Highsmith has played more now due to the necessity. So when Jimmy comes back, you'll see Highsmith already play a little bit less. And Duncan played with Oladipo now. Now you will see now that Oladipo's back, our wing defense is going to improve. Our perimeter defense is going to improve drastically. And when Vincent comes back, that's the combo that I want to see. I want to see Vincent and Oladipo defending in that second unit, and if we throw Caleb. I just don't know. Before we go, is there any? I know we've talked about it before at times. Trade scenarios. Is there really anything that you have thought about in the last couple of weeks? Any moves that might surprise you, or anybody that we would trade that might surprise you?
The name that came up for us to be willing to trade, we already kind of talked about with Caleb Martin.
Yeah.
Like over the weeks, I've been more willing to just go ahead and take him. But in terms of players to acquire, I'd be kind of interested, and we just saw him. He just beat us in a little bit of Sadiq Bey.
Okay.
He's not being used. He's coming off the bench. He can play the four as a stretch four for the Heat. I think.
They were going to go with Bogdanovich.
I think he just signed an extension there, didn't he?
Who? Bogdanovich?
Bogdanovich. I think he signed a 2-year extension, and that makes him untradeable, I think.
Holy shit, I didn't even know that. Wow, let me look this up. Continue, as you were.
Yeah. So the names that have come up for me, like the most interesting one is Sadiq Bey because he's young, he can stretch the floor, and he's been giving the Heat the business for a while whenever we play them. So that's a new name that came up. I'm always like with the other guys that we've talked about, with the Marcus Morris, with the. I mean, John Collins seems like a little bit more of a far-fetched idea now because they'll probably want an asset that we don't have or an asset that we don't want to give up. So it's probably a little bit more unrealistic. But if we're talking about Marcus Morris, I was going to say if the Kings weren't good, I would probably be all over Harrison Barnes.
Yeah, but
they're good. So why would they do that?
Why would they do that? And it's true, by the way. You are correct. He signed a 2-year, $39 million extension. So forget that.
I think by NBA rule, I think he's ineligible for like 6 months.
Yeah. Dude, you know what?
And I think that goes past the trade deadline.
Yeah. That has to be an off-season move. But you know what's one thing? In current time, as it was going on, and I'll finish it off with this. I understood we were going for Kevin Durant. Not going for him. We wanted to be in the game, so we don't want to tie anything down to us. But what I always felt, and I remember we were talking to Bobby. I think we were starting the Goon Squad around this time, and I was talking to him about the Heat, and I'm like, one player that I feel that will be perfect next to Bam, and they probably want to move is Jeremy Grant. And I'm like, I don't think it's going to be that expensive to get, Bob. Like, he'll get you a first-round pick, maybe an asset. You got to make the numbers match. So, in my mind, I wanted to trade a first, maybe Duncan Robinson, and another asset I was willing to include.
He wasn't very expensive, was he?
No. Jeremy Grant has signed. I think his contract this year was like $19 million, or like
no. I mean, what they traded for him. It wasn't.
No. He traded. They traded a first-round pick, and it was a salary match. So hold on, let's pull it up real quick. Jeremy Grant trade, because this is something to me that when it happened, trade to Blazers. Okay, let's see what they gave up. Boom. Okay, he basically was traded for Ismael Kamagari from the Detroit Pistons in exchange for draft rights to Gabriel Procida, a 2025 first-round pick, 2025 second, and a 2026 second. I would have given that up without a problem, without an issue.
Yeah, you match with Duncan and give up the picks.
You match with Duncan, you give up the second-round picks. I'll give him the first because you have. I mean, look what he's done with the Blazers, man. Like, once again, I understand hindsight. I understood the situation that if we did that move, that was it. That was
they wanted to be. They wanted to be in the game for these players that were available. Exactly. It wasn't only Durant. It was Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah, Bradley
even
Beal.
Kyrie at some point. They talked about.
Did you hear what Bradley Beal said the other day? That he signed his extension because there was really no other team out there that was like in a winning situation. I'm like, bro, you could have asked for a trade. We would have traded for you without a problem.
I think Bradley Beal's full of shit.
Oh yeah, of course. Man.
I've been over I've been over Bradley Beal for like a year now because he doesn't want to go anywhere. He loves the
No,
torture
man,
of being on a bad
he's
team.
fine. He's fine. But well, we'll see Clutch by next Wednesday. I actually have a game, so I don't know for sure we'll do the show Wednesday, but I'll talk to you. Most likely it will be Wednesday. So we'll see the next couple games if we can get to 500 by next week, man, and we can have a more positive show in regards to the Heat. But first and foremost, I want to thank everybody listening. Don't forget, I know it's the end of the show. Like and subscribe to the Finstock Network, Finstock Sports Network. We continue to grow. The show lineups are amazing. We maybe only have like 1 or 2 days without any shows on air live. So always support the guys. I always say we're doing this because we love from fans to the fans. So this is a passion of ours, and we have great analysis, great commentators in regards to what you see. It's just kind of watching games with your boys. And for me, like always, it's a pleasure, Clutch, to be with you. Much love, man. We're back, hopefully to a regular schedule. And is there anything you got to say before we go, Clutch?
Um, I usually always say no, but actually I think no this time because it's just been so depressing in the Miami sports this last week that I
It's
have
actually
nothing
no.
to add. It's a real no. I have nothing to
Oh
add.
man.
It's been such a
Oh
depressing week for Miami sports.
yeah. And we got the Marlins in the winter meetings, always close to signing somebody, interested in signing somebody, and that just
Yes.
has to be the honestly, like being in the Marlins. I understand the goal that you're trying to go developing and kind of going the Houston Nationals way. But when you see these people start getting this money, you're like a little kid in the candy store just looking, and you have no money, and you just see everybody eating candy, just looking. I'm like, oh, I wanted that one. Never mind. I was interested in that now or later, but not anymore. Just go, just go.
Yeah.
Oh man, hey, but much love, Miami. Have a happy Wednesday. Have a happy hum day. See you next week from Clutch and I. Take care and go Heat, baby.